It's not all bad news, though. If we look at the two pie charts here and focus on the blue and on the brown or burgundy, you can see the left side of those pies is largely the same. That's the revenue that the institution earns from contracts and grants, from auxiliaries, and from gifts. And so if we look at the proportional breakout 10 years ago, it's about the same. The right-hand side is the amount of revenue that the university earns from state appropriation. In 2008, that was nearly 30% of the revenue that we earned, and from tuition, the blue part. And you can see that those decreases in state appropriation were offset by increases in aggregate tuition revenue. Now, Arizona, the University of Arizona is still an extremely affordable place to go to school if you are an Arizona resident. The average Arizona resident pays $4,500 a year to go to school here. But that's not true if you're an international student or a non-resident student. We've had an age to go to college than there have been over time. Now, fortunately, the demand for education on a lifetime learning basis, we just had a conversation at my table over lunch about micro-credentialing and certifications. The demand for lifelong learning and the accompanying artifacts to reflect that is increasing significantly. And the demand for online learning is up. Online learning has had a tremendous amount of success here at the University of Arizona. And the demand for United States education all over the world is tremendous. We have had success opening micro-campuses, and we've had a lot of success recruiting international students here to the university. So even though some of those tuition, even though the appropriation is down and the tuition revenues are up, it's coming from different sources than in some cases we had been accustomed to in the past. So on Saturday night, I went to Ironwood Ridge. My family went to Ironwood Ridge to watch the Mamma Mia concert, the musical. I love musicals. And my daughter is in drama and is enjoying that, and so we went to watch the musical. Those students are 1 year younger than the class that just entered here. And the students putting on that performance, for the most part, have never been to a bank. They have always been able to consume movies and music and books online, for the most part, wherever they are, all the time. They are accustomed to a gesture-based interface. They probably are not very effective typers. I remember with my children, we were at a museum, and this was I don't remember exactly how old they were, but 7 or 8. And the museum had a beautiful display just at the right level for kids to be able to interact with. And immediately they walked up and started to interact with the display. And they were dismayed that it was actually just a slideshow. It was not interactive because they're accustomed to everything being interactive. They don't remember JFK being shot, and that seems like ancient history. They don't even remember 9/11. The Vietnam War started closer to the end of World War II than we are from 9/11 today. There was only 15 years between the end of World War II and the start of the Vietnam War, and we're we're 18 years removed from 9/11. They don't remember it. What they do know is they know that the cloud is everywhere. They know that there are no entry barriers. They know that if they want to go do something, that a few minutes from now they can stand up a server or they can access storage, or one of their friends can. They have expectations that releases are going to be constant, and they have expectations that new applications and new software, new capabilities are going to be emerging all the time. The entry barriers that the cloud has basically wrecked are transformative for us. Last year we won the Cloud Leadership Award overall from EDUCAUSE, and this year we won a specific Cloud Leadership Award as well. In fact, who in the audience has ever been #1 in the country in anything? #1. Derek. Well, actually, all of you should be raising your hand, because we are literally #1 in the country in terms of our deployment of cloud infrastructure. in higher education. And it's been disruptive for us. It's still being disruptive for us. I mean, I have emails regularly talking about how to do it effectively. We have a significant project that we're looking to spin up in order to be able to make it to make our operations capabilities and our security capabilities available to campus through the cloud. The students that we're teaching here, that are here now, take it 100% for granted. So even though it's disruptive for us, it's old news to them. They're accustomed to be able to connect accustomed to connecting everywhere. They have known 4G effectively their entire life. And Verizon and AT&T are deploying 5G right now. And 5G is going to be massively transformative for us at home, for us here at work, and for us as consumers. It probably won't be deployed initially with the full bandwidth enabled, but on a 5G network, it can run, for the most part, roughly 100 times faster than a 4G network can. You can download a movie, a standard movie, in 1 second. You can download a 4K movie in a couple of minutes. And so the level of automation that's going to be available to us, most of the projections are that handsets, 5G-enabled handsets, are going to be out and readily available in 2020. The type of automation that's going to be available to us, the constant information flow on our phones, on all of the other wearables and sensors around us, in our cars, in our homes, in our spaces at work, is coming, and it's only a couple years away. Massive bandwidth. So all of that connectivity is throwing off a massive amount of data. I'll point out just a couple of the numbers here on this chart. This is every minute, 4.3 million YouTube videos watched every minute. 4 petabytes of data downloaded in America every minute. 4 million Google searches every minute. This is the world that they grew up in. I mean, we're accustomed to operating in this world as well, but this is the only world that they have ever known. This is the baseline expectation for our students. All that data is sort of scary. I get lots of questions about privacy, but it's also kind of exciting. I was at my daughter's soccer game on Saturday, and my wife pointed out that my shoes were starting to wear out, and so I jumped on Zappos, and it had remembered, fortunately, that I wear size 10 Asics, and that's pretty convenient. It was ready to go. I picked out the same model that I always buy. I'm fairly boring in that regard. And so it was easy and convenient for me. Zappos did a very nice job of personalizing the experience for me, and my spouse was happy because I had gotten some new shoes and I was less embarrassing, or soon to be less embarrassing. So these are a few things that I care about. The Nebraska Cornhuskers and the San Antonio Spurs and my road bike and unsweet iced tea. I love Texas, and I love brewed Whataburger iced tea, but man, unsweet only. So when I go on to ESPN and I get ready to look up football scores, and that has been a little bit easier to do with Nebraska the last couple of weeks than it was earlier in the season, it's frustrating to me that I have to click on NCAA football and then scroll down through the conferences, through all those silly Pac-12 schools, down to the Big Ten to be able to pick Nebraska. And so as happy as I was about Zappos remembering the size of my shoes, I feel fairly frustrated when I go out to look at Husker News on ESPN. The fact that that's not naturally personalized to me in some way. And the same thing is true for the Spurs. Fortunately, the Spurs are only 1 click away, not 3. But the expectations that we have about, and that the students that are here, the class of 2022 that just started, that they have about personalization, it's very intense. They have largely had a fully personalized experience their entire life. So they see high tech as high touch. And I think in some cases I'm there too. Sometimes I like to talk to somebody on the phone, but a lot of cases, if I can do something through a portal, I actually am more comfortable with that. We can't go 10 seconds without Wi-Fi, but we can go 10 seconds without air. So the Maslow's hierarchy of Wi-Fi, air, water, food is Wi-Fi has now emerged. 5G might change that a little bit for us. But the Wi-Fi at the very highest point on that pyramid is an expectation that they have. They're accustomed to security and privacy. They fully understand how to configure their social connections to purposefully limit the access that other parties have, or to purposefully provide access. That's a pretty significant learning curve for all of us. We have probably had to spend a lot of time consciously thinking about, how do I enable what I want? And they have, their entire life, they have done that. It's natural for them to think about it. So what do we do to react to that? What do you do specifically as a community of IT professionals? Well, the first thing you should do is you should invest in yourself. You are an investment. You are not a payroll expenditure. And specifically, there's a model that I want to talk about on how to invest in yourself. Focus on a T-shaped learning curve. So many of you have had success as an IT professional because you have a deep level of expertise in one specific discipline, maybe in two. Maybe you have passed the 10,000 hour rule and you're truly a master at some IT thing. That continue to invest in that deeper, or perhaps in something that is very close to that. But I would also urge you to become broader in a very general fashion. Learn more about the parts of information technology that you don't do on a day-to-day basis. If you're a programmer, spend some time understanding how network configuration works, or what an incident response process may look like. If you're a business intelligence analyst, maybe spend some time learning Python. Broaden your general perspective to put you in a position to be able to interact with other people more effectively in all of the interactions that you have. And that holds true from a higher ed perspective as well. If you typically support student services, spend some time learning how research works. What does the proposal development process look like? What does the cash cycle look like, and what does charging look like? Those types of things tend to have a significant amount of influence on how the parties that you're interacting with, how they see the world. And so it puts you in a better position to be able to interact with them effectively. So the second thing is work as a community. And investing, I worked for a hedge fund when I was in college, and there's a significant amount of efficient frontier analysis. And a finding in finance is that the only free lunch is diversification. And that is true for people too. We tend to group and spend a lot of time with people who are very similar to us, who know the kinds of things that we know, or who have a very similar background to the background that we have. In order for you to be effective, you're going to want to work, in order for you to be most effective yourself personally, you're going to want to work and partner with people who are different from you. Someone that has different talents, different strengths. I want to thank Karen for pointing that out. The StrengthsFinder research is strong, and the investment that we've made into that in UITS, I think, is important for the entire campus IT community. There are not unicorns out there. None of us is perfect. We all have strengths. Now, fortunately, the strengths that we also have weaknesses. Fortunately, the weaknesses that we have, a lot of other people have as strengths. And so as we work together as teams, partnering with other people who have strengths that are different from ours, background that's different from ours, and perspective that's different from ours, leads to better outcomes. So this is a hard one. IT projects, IT is almost always the easiest part of every project. It's always people that are difficult. And sometimes that's us. Sometimes we're the difficult party. And certainly, I've worked with a number of different planning models. When I was at Arthur Andersen, they planned 10 to 1 the amount of time to put into testing and training and user support versus the time to put into technology. There was another IBM model which was variable, and it was 4.5 to 8 to 1. And as I've planned ERP projects all over the country, most of the time that we put into implementing big, massive, complex IT systems is actually into helping people to learn and to change. And that is just as difficult for us, but it makes it even more important for us, because we tend to be at the leading edge of where that opportunity to become better is. And so we need to be committed to being agile and being flexible ourselves with the technology, with the approaches, and with the people that we're working with. One final thing is that, and there's a significant amount of behavioral economics research that has come out in the last 10 to 20 years. Our intuition is not good. This is for people. In fact, our intuition in particular related to risk or judgment, trying to differentiate small differences in things, is terrible. We mostly get it wrong. And we mostly make bad decisions when we rely exclusively on intuition. Now, we don't always have data to support all of our decisions. Sometimes we need to listen to testimonials of those around us, and sometimes we need to make decisions based on our intuition. But when data is available, you should absolutely be committed to using it. I am. And for the most part, we have a very significant business intelligence function here at the university, and so data is quite available for us as a university. And you, as information technology professionals, tend to have access to a massive amount of information. I strongly encourage you to use that to make more effective decisions in your day-to-day life. The cost to access it is low, and the return on the time that you spend accessing that is very high. There is a significant amount of research on power models or influence models. And with the IT Leadership Academy, I teach a session on one of them. It's the French and Raven model. And one of the 6 specific sources of power that they identified, and this is a durable model, it's stayed with us for a very long time, is information. And as IT professionals, when something is so close to us and when we have access to it, we should absolutely work to use it in our decision making, and we should absolutely work to make that information readily available to the people we support to improve their decision making as well. So be committed to using data to inform your decision making and the decision making of those around you. So those were the comments that I had for today. Thank you very, very much for your time. This is a very large community. I'm proud to have you all here. It was wonderful to be able to have President Robbins come in and share some remarks. He has visited, I believe, all of the colleges, but I don't think that he has visited any support or auxiliary units. I believe that this is the first support community that he has visited like this. So thank you for being warm and encouraging him this morning. If you have questions and follow-up and thoughts for me, please catch me in the hallway, catch me on a walk, send me an email, because I'm always interested in more data and more information to improve my decision making. So thank you. I want to do a quick reminder on the raffle and the reception tonight too. So there are a few pretty interesting prizes over there. If you have not put your tickets into the fishbowl, please remember to do so. We do that at 4:30. I'm looking for confirmation at 4:30. And then there'll be a reception to follow.